Hey Cubbies, I hope you're doing well. As always, I miss you so much. And this is our next to the last lesson. We only have one more lesson next week and we'll be all done. And I'm so sad that I don't get to be with you to see you and finish these last lessons with you. But we have an awesome story today, Cubbies. It's one of my favorite stories. But first of all, what did Cubby Bear wear on his head in the puppet show today? Did you get a chance to see that one first? He had on an umbrella on his head. And that was so silly because it wasn't supposed to rain. But Cubby Bear's a little silly, isn't he? He didn't want to get wet like he did when him and Timothy were in his dad's boat and they got the boat slid off the shore and went in the water and they got soaking wet. So we'll find out next week how the story ends and what happened to them and how they made it out of the boat. So today we're going to learn a story about how Jesus and his friends were in a boat and they were in a storm and his friends were scared. So we're going to learn today, Cubbies, what we do when we're scared, okay? So what do I have in my hands, Cubbies? The Bible. Can you sing the Bible song with me? Okay. The Bible. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The Bible. Bible. Good job, Cubbies. I like singing the Bible song with you. So today, we are learning about a story from the book of Mark in the Bible, okay? So this story comes right out of the Bible. All the stories and all the words in the Bible are true, and we can trust it because it's God's word. So our story starts off with Jesus. He had just taught a lot of people, and it was towards the end of the day, and Jesus was really tired. And so Jesus told his disciples that was his friends that he was the closest to. Jesus told his disciples to get into a boat and go across the big sea. It almost looked like an ocean, it was so big, but they were going to go across the sea. So they got into the boat and everything was going pretty good. And I have this bottle of blue water. This is kind of like something you can look at to show you what was happening. So the water was still, the water was calm when they got into the boat, and everything was going really well. What do you think Jesus was doing in the boat while everything was calm and the wind was blowing just a little bit and it was nice and peaceful? Can you see what he's doing, Cubbies? Jesus is sleeping. He's sleeping in the boat. And that just shows us, Cubbies, that even though Jesus is God's son, he still got tired just like we get tired. And so his friends are all taking care of the boat while Jesus is in there resting. But something started to happen, Cubbies. What once was a really peaceful water, the wind started to pick up and the waves got a little bigger, and then the rain started coming and it got harder and harder, and the wind blew faster and faster, and the thunder crashed all around them, and the water started to spill over into their boat and almost fill up their boat, and the disciples were scared. I would have been scared too, Cummies. But they didn't know who was in the boat with them, did they? And so see how my waves are getting crashing down? And so let's find out from our pictures what happens. So the disciples, Jesus is still sleeping. And so the disciples have to go and wake him up. And they say, Jesus, wake up. Don't you care if we drown? And Jesus immediately wakes up and he calms the storm. He says, peace, be still. And the waves stopped just like that. And the rain stopped just like that. And the wind stopped just like that. Because Jesus is God's son and he can do anything. He has power over the wind and the waves and the rain and all of nature and all of creation. And so he looked at the disciples and he turned to them and he said, Why are you so afraid? Do you still not believe in me? He couldn't understand why they couldn't understand that they were safe because they were with him. And Cubbies, the same is true for us. When Jesus is with us, which is all the time, we don't need to be afraid either, even though we can be in some scary situations. And look at these disciples. You see their faces? They were amazed. And this is what they said. They said, "Who is this that even the wind and the sea obey him?" See, they're learning about Jesus all the time. They've been with Jesus a lot and they've seen him perform miracles, but they've never seen anyone stop the wind and the waves and the rain in the sky. They've never seen that before, so that was amazing to them, Cubbies. And the disciples that day learned that you don't have to be afraid with Jesus. And the same is true for me and you, Cubbies. Have you ever been scared in a storm, or you're laying in your bed and a storm wakes you up at night and it's really scary? We had a bad storm a couple nights ago, real early in the morning, and I heard the thunder and it woke me up and I couldn't go back to sleep. I wasn't afraid because I knew Jesus was with me and he was going to take care of me. And that's true for us too. So whenever you're afraid, Cubbies, even if you can't see Jesus, I want you to know that he's always with you. And all we have to do is pray and say, "Jesus, I know you're with me. Help me not to be afraid." And he will. That is what Jesus does for us, because he wants to be our friend forever. So Cubbies, remember that. Next time you're afraid, just remember Jesus is always with us. Just like when Jesus was with his disciples. All right, Cubbies, that's our lesson for this week. And remember, just one more lesson next week. And I will see you then. Bye.